So search engines, so Baidu is the biggest. It has 83% of the market, and Google is actually not present in China itself. It's actually out of Hong Kong, but a lot of the Chinese consumers can still access Google from there, or from China, from like crossing the boundaries, but it doesn't have anywhere near as much search as what it does here in Australia, for instance, or elsewhere in the world. So much, much bigger for Baidu in China than anything else. Google were in China, but they had some issues with the government, and they decided to lock up the office and move over to Hong Kong. So, okay, so for just some points for SEO for Baidu. So obviously a site hosted in a local domain in China is advantageous. It's obviously the preferable way to go. The content monitoring is absolutely vital, and as sorry, I missed your name, I'm sorry. Joanne mentioned before, just Google it. Go and Google the particular content that you're after. Optimise in simplified Chinese, so actually having it translated into simplified Chinese is, again, it's a huge advantage for you. Also the keywords, how they look up something is not necessarily the same way we look up something. So for instance, we might search for accommodation, but they might search for hotel, for instance. So you need to be aware that the keywords are not necessarily the same. And that goes for any market, not just for China. It's any market. If you're going into the German market or the French or the any other non-speaking English market, it's the same thing. So you just got to be aware of your search words. The keywords and the meta tags are important. So even though in Google here in Australia, the keywords and meta tags, they're not as much focused on as what they used to be. It still is there, but not as much. Whereas for the China market, yes, they love the keywords, they love the meta tags that sit behind your website. So yes, use those as much as you possibly can. High quality links, same for us here in Australia, exactly the same. So good quality, high level traffic links from a China website to your website will be fantastic for your SEO outcomes. So if you can do that, so in other words, linking to or getting the big sites, which I'll show you a couple of big sites in a moment, but getting those big sites to link back to yours would be fantastic. That's exactly the way to go. PPC is very well accepted in China. It's huge. So like here in Australia, we've got that sort of expectation that if you're paying for ads on Google, then maybe you're not as good as what you're actually thinking you are. You know, people generally don't click on the PPC campaigns as much as what they do in the organic search. So in China though, love it. The more you can do PPC, the better. They love it because they actually is the opposite for them. They think if you're paying for it, then you must be good because you've got the budget and you've got the money to do it. So total opposite in the way they think in PPC campaigns. Okay, this is what their search results page looks like. So at the top, you've got, oh, I keep forgetting I've got a little pointer on here. Up here, this is your yearly advertisement listings. So you can actually pay for a whole year to have your ad up on that side. And what they do, the more money you pay, the higher the slot that you get. So if you pay big dollars, you could sit up here. The top 3 will rotate up here. The top 3 will be static up here. Then the top 4 to 10 will then rotate because they haven't quite paid as much money. So they'll rotate between themselves, but the top 3, they'll sit there and they'll be in plain view for a whole year. So that's your difference. So that's on that side. Then over here, you've also got pay-per-click ads. So the layout's much the same as Google. Now, the difference is you can see these Chinese symbols in here. That's what depicts the paid listing. And then this one here, this is your natural listings. So much the same setup as what Google does here in Australia. So, or in the world, basically, it's the same. So not that different at all. And that's your paid, that's for your paid. So it's great if you can, if you do go down that path of hosting in China and having a digital agency, the SEO side with your PPC campaigns would be well worth the money, I would say, to get you out there and noticed. Anyway. Okay. Social media. So this is real. I love this little diagram because these are our Western side of social media in here, and then pretty much for every one of for every one of ours, they have 3, 4, 5, 6 different versions of theirs. So there's tons out there. So we did research into that as well to see which ones came up in the landscape, but I wanted to show you that because that's just how much is out there. So it really goes to show you that the social media side for China is massive, and they're using it constantly. They're on it every day, and they're utilising it every day. These are the top ones in China. So this one over on this side, the little funny looking eye thing, that's Sina Weibo, which is similar to Twitter. Now I'll say similar because it's not exactly the same because different facets, so it is, but that's probably the easiest way to explain it. Tencent is very similar to Facebook, but again, when I say similar, they only have little things that are similar. They're not the same. Qzone, Douban, Renren, they're all very similar to Twitter and Facebook. Some of them are a bit of a combination between the two. UQ is YouTube version. Now Kaizen, that one I did hear only just recently in the last couple of months that they're not doing so well and they're going bust. But obviously someone might come along and buy them up and amalgamate it possibly into one of the other ones, but I haven't heard much more about it at this stage. But that one was very big and very similar to Facebook. Very good with photo sharing and that's what they're very big on, photos and sharing those amongst themselves. So the more that you can do that, the better. Xiaopeng, that's another one, but it was very much geared towards the younger market, and it's used, say, the teens sort of side of things. And then 51.com is very similar to Facebook as well. But what I wanted to show you, these are the top ones that are travel related. So we've got Baidu, but Baidu has what's called a Taiba Baidu, and that's like a platform where they can go and do pretty much anything. They can go on forums, they can go on chat rooms, they can, almost like what a Google Products does with all their little things into everything, it's very much the same. They do it, and it's huge. It's got a lot of followers on that one. Renren is their one for Facebook, and Kaizen obviously, but that one's having some issues. Sina Weibo for Twitter, similar to Twitter, and then your Tencent Pengu is your instant messaging Facebook type scenario. So you got lots of options, but these ones were the ones out of the research that we've picked up as more travel related, that people use when they're travelling or about to travel. So just so you can see, this is a snapshot of our Sina Weibo account, just so that you can see how the layout looks. So again, you know, this is a UQ video that's been embedded into the Weibo account. So Twitter doesn't embed videos into Twitter, it links it. So these actually embed, so that's one of the major differences between Twitter and Sina Weibo. Now over here, this is just to show you, so we've got 234 people that we follow as a company. Then we've got 18,041 followers, so this is, you know, in the scheme of things, when there's 513 million people on the net in China, that's not a huge number, but that's pretty good for us. And we did see about 3 or 4 weeks ago that was sitting around about 17,300. So we've had a growth of about 800 followers within the last 4 weeks, which is pretty good. You know, compare that to our social media here, and we wouldn't get that many in the last 3 to 4 weeks. So it's not bad, but obviously they've got mass market, so they can do that. And then the last figure, the 1528, that's how many posts we've made. So very similar to the way we work with our tweets and posts and so forth. And then under here, these are the posts. And what we found as Tourism Queensland anyway, now this may not follow for you, but what we found were competitions worked really well, voting, so get them to vote on something. So if it's which is the best beach in Australia, Goldie or I'm not sure, but whatever, then they love to vote. And ones with holiday deals. They actually do appreciate the holiday deals on Weibo, more so than what they do on Twitter or Facebook like we do here in Australia. They don't want the hard sell, but they actually do like the holiday deals and with a price. So that seems to have worked for us. It could work for you. It just depends on what your market or who you're trying to bring through. So that's just how, and you can stylise it just like you can with your Facebook page and your Twitter account. So we change our branding on the background quite regularly. Just only a few weeks ago we had our campaign that was coinciding with Cairns, and then a few weeks before that we had the Harvey and the Humpbacks campaign. So, we change this regularly to keep people interested, which is what you should do with your social media here in Australia anyway. So, excuse me. Okay. Some travel review platforms. So that's that Luping on the right-hand side there. That one's the bigger one that came out of our research for TQ just recently. So the Luping site where they go on and they make their travel reviews, just like TripAdvisor. And then this one, the Chongyu, is the other one that's used quite a lot as well within China, and the reviews and so forth over there. So, and as I mentioned before, the TripAdvisor equivalent is DAO, so DAO.com, and that's their equivalent. And when you go and have a look, it's branded. The little owl face is up there. You'll see it's almost exact to how their TripAdvisor site runs. Okay, breather. Okay, so things to think about when you're doing your social media. So they're very big on using celebrities on social media. So now, I'm not talking about TV stars or film stars. That works really well. But they love the people who have high followers on their social media. So if you can find someone who's got 1 million followers and have them as part of your campaign, in your social media campaign, that'll work wonders for you. So it's the celebrity status that they love. So if you can utilise that, then great, go with it. Use simplified Chinese when you're doing it, obviously, and if you've got someone who can translate, that's great. Now, once they're here, though, what are we going to do for them once they're here? So provide location-based networks. So they're very big on checking in. So give them the ability to be able to do that. So, because I want to tell everybody back home what they're doing and where they are, and upload photos and all the rest of it. So give them the ability to do that. And I'll jump one and give them Wi-Fi access. So, and it's huge. They expect it. Just like Tracy was saying, the research showed they expect Wi-Fi access without a fee. It's part of what they're paying. That is what their expectations are now. Now, we've come across some people who are actually saying, but, I don't want them to download too much. I don't want them to, charge me a fortune by downloading all this thing, or where's the legal implications? Like the question we had was, what if somebody came, and this is standard travellers, not just Chinese travellers, but what if somebody downloaded or did something illegally? Where are we going to sit then in the grander scheme of things? There's some clear things that you can do there. Have access with a passcode. So they've actually got to go through a process. So when they check in at reception, or if they hop on your tour bus, or whatever the case may be, and you say, yep, we've got Wi-Fi, here's the code to access it, and you need to go through some terms and conditions before it'll let you access it. And then it gives you then, the liability is not on you anymore. It's now on the consumer who's accessing your Wi-Fi. So there are ways around it. So if that was an issue that you were thinking of why you weren't giving Wi-Fi, then it can be overcome. And if the cost is your next issue, then the cost can be filtered in, or can be factored in rather, to the rates that you charge people. So you've got that scenario possibly fixed up. But really, they do expect it. We had an instance where one of the research team who came out from China to help us with the research, she was checked into a hotel in Brisbane, and she went to go online. They had no Wi-Fi. So she was stuck. So she literally stayed in her room and did nothing because she couldn't find where to go and eat, where to go and have a look at something, you know, what she could potentially do while she was here, because she could not access her phone. So she didn't leave her room. That's not what we want to promote. We want them out and about, spending money. We want them out there eating in our restaurants, going on our tours, staying at other hotels if they're going to other places. This is what we need to promote. So it is now an expectation. I mean, I expect when I go now and do any searching for hotels where I want to stay, I won't stay somewhere unless I get Wi-Fi access. And that's just the way it runs now. That's the expectations. So anyway, off that. QR codes. QR codes are huge in China. They love their QR codes, especially when they get something at the end of it, like a deal or a special or something like that. So the more you can use QR codes, the better. Anyone not know about QR codes? Quick response codes, you know, they're little black, well, not generally, they don't have to be black, but they're like a little square barcode that you can scan with your smartphone. They love it. So if you have the access to that and you want to do that, then that's fantastic, because they will use that quite a lot. Okay, so these are some of the online travel agents. Ctrip is the one that Tracy mentioned earlier, which is actually it's the biggest in China. So having your product listed with Ctrip would be fantastic. Now, I've heard rumours of two things. That SiteMinder is connecting to Ctrip, and they're actually going to be bookable if you've got a SiteMinder booking system. So that's in the works. And the other one I heard is that the ATDW translated listing will be Ctrip. So that's fantastic news if that is the case. So we're still waiting to see on what happens with those scenarios, but it'd be awesome if that happens. It'll be great. Elong is another one, and then Qunar, which is Qunar is very big on last-minute specials and holiday deals, and you know, because as we were saying before, their lead-in time for bookings is very short. I think it was 2 to 3 months, and then they've only got really 10 to 12 days to spend while they're here. So the more you can get your product out there, the better. Mobile, as Tracy said before, mobile is huge. They've just surpassed 1 billion mobile connections in China, so that's massive amounts of mobile phones, or connections rather. Now the smartphones is rising, and that's getting higher and higher every day. So we've got 35% have smartphones, but that is increasing. And 94% of them use the mobile to access the internet daily. So very important to consider when you have built your website to make sure that it's mobile friendly as well when you're connected in China. Then they've got your smartphone penetration is 50% in tier 1 cities, so those major cities have got huge amounts of smartphone usage, but the average on the whole of the country is only 15%, but your tier 1 cities are very high and growing. Androids at the moment do hold the market, but that iPhone stat there, the 29%, that grew from 11% to 29% in less than 6 months. So the Apples are coming through just as fast as anything else. And Apple, as you know, they have pretty much got the market in the Western side of things. So as I said, mobile site would be an absolute advantage for your presence in China. Now, the most popular mobile browser in China is called UC Browser. They've got over 300 million users in there, which is fantastic. So much the same, like for instance, some of our mobile browsers, we've got Safari and Firefox, thank you. I can't think of all of them. But they are doing it now that they're available. This browser is available on all major mobile brands. So Apple being the iOS, Android being your Blackberries and so forth. So they are supporting all your major phones that are over there. So if you are going to go down that mobile market, make sure that you've got it utilised for the UC browser. So the other thing they're really, really interested in is apps, because obviously apps makes their life a lot easier, because they are so fast-paced and on the run so much that apps is just something simple. They can just access it any time. So this is just actually some iPhone shots, obviously, from one of the research people that came out for this research. So this is what she had, and you can see very clearly very much about destinations. So Germany, France, Sydney, Melbourne, England, London. So very, very destination orientated. So that's not to say that you have to go out and build your own app, but just make sure that you're on any of the destination apps that are available. So the Queensland Holidays app, your local app, which I'm sure there is one. Yes? Is there a local Gold? Yes? Sorry? There is one? Coming. So there you go. So make sure you're on the Gold Coast one that's coming, which I would assume that it's pulling the content from ATW anyway. She doesn't know. It's okay. But I would assume that's where it's coming from. So if you're on ATW, just check, wait and see. You'll get notifications when it's ready. So make sure that you are on as many apps as you possibly can be, so that you've got that exposure. So when people are here, and again, it's not just for the China traveller, it's for any traveller, they can find you. So utilise the apps as much as you possibly can. Queensland shines on me, where Australia shines.